We're going to do a very quick session with Jeff Pulver, who is, according to Business Week, is considered to be one of their tech gurus ever since 2006. He also invests in companies, and he spends half the year in Israel and half the year in the US, and we're going to hear how come. But besides this, Jeff is he runs a conference called 140 Characters, State of Now, and he's an expert in how to use social media into business, and we're going to talk with you about this. And after that, we're going to have a bon voyage with the ambassador of Spain, His Excellency Alvaro Iranzo Gutierrez, and we're going to have a very celebrative dinner at which you can then relax. Until then, Jeff, you have. Oh, you have. Yeah. I'm just going to put one slide about Israel is being ranked number 2
in what?
In usage of Facebook. You see, the first are Philippines, the second is Israel, and the third is Turkey. I don't know why. The average number of friends people have in Facebook is 130, whereas in Israel the average is 232.
Okay.
So how can we leverage from that into business?
I don't think you can.
Into being ambassadors of Israel?
I think it's really I don't think someone's personal social graph is necessarily a reflection of who they do business with. It's really a reflection of who they have as friends. Facebook, when it came into Israel in 2007, it was really a social experience. And because you don't have to delete friends until you reach about 5,000, many people, unless they offend you, of course, the approach to friendship is not necessarily any reflection to business sense. Since 2007, lots of things have changed on Facebook, particularly the way that applications go viral or not. You now, of course, have the establishment of businesses within Facebook, and there's a lot of mythology with how Facebook works versus others. But I think if you're trying to put a good face to business, I think all that you see on that graph is that on a per capita basis, based on the population of Israel, there's a lot of people who have used Facebook, perhaps not even as active as we think. They have accounts. We don't necessarily know whether or not it's their dogs or their cats or their kids, but there are lots of people who have accounts here. But I tell you, I made virtual Aliyah in 2007, so one of those people is me.
Why? Why did you make it?
Well, back then when Facebook was still growing up, you could choose what network you wanted to be on. And I had a choice to be by default on the New York network, except all my friends were in Israel. And if you were on the default network where your friends are, you got to see more information and more things that were happening by default. So it was much easier for me to make virtual Aliyah, the tax authority notwithstanding. And it's okay. And by the way, technically I'm only here 90 nights a year, so please don't tell anyone it's more than that. We have issues with that. So it's no more than 90 nights. Certainly not half a year. That would be a challenge. But anyway, to answer your question, though, I think while you're working on the mission to Barcelona, I'm actually working with the Israeli Export Institute on a mission to South by Southwest. And what I was totally amazed by is that there's going to be a Tel Aviv beach right across in Austin, Texas, right across from the convention center. And the city of Tel Aviv I've met with the last couple of days, and we're actually making everybody who is visiting South by Southwest, who's from Israel, ambassadors of Tel Aviv, to represent the city and to represent the country and to answer any questions about what it's like to do business in Israel. And there's a definite active role to try to bring more companies to Israel, not just from the States, but from anywhere, and to transform what's a startup nation into a platform for many other countries to understand innovation and to grow from. So in terms of the ambassadors, I think really the an effort to actually connect. You know, if people are going there to do business, they may want to actually plan out in advance who they want to meet with. I advocate stalking. Social stalking is very good. I don't, you know, in Israel, Twitter is not that popular, but in everywhere else it seems to be. And so, you know, if you're going there to meet certain people who are speaking, you know, after 17 years of producing events, I can tell you, rather than wait for the person to talk, get there before they show up. You know, if they're going to be in certain rooms, stand in front of the room and act like the bodyguard and don't let them go through the door until you exchange a business card with a person. But really importantly, don't wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow never happens. So often you meet somebody and you see, I'll see you later for coffee, I'll see you for a drink. No. If you actually came all the way to Barcelona to meet someone for potential business, don't leave that moment until you actually do your business, or at least set up a moment to exchange phone numbers and have a chance to actually put a conversation in motion. Because too often the future opportunities never go, and another year goes by and say, oh, weren't supposed to get together, but you never do. So, you know, I really advocate, if you see a moment, you take it, because those moments don't necessarily come back to you. And at the prices you're investing to be in Barcelona, you want to take advantage of every moment possible. I also believe in groups, that if you're going to go together as 100 people, 1,000 people, 3 people, understand what your friends are there for also. So just in case you run across somebody who they're looking for, you have a way to immediately flag them down, and again, try to create symmetry between the opportunities, because you're not going there alone. So you can use the social net as a way to trap, connect, share, and engage. And you know, stalking typically is not very positive, but you know, when you're trying to find people to connect with, you need somebody to be your ears and your eyes. And you can't be everywhere, because the trade show floor is very big. Your own company's needs and agendas are different. But to collectively, if you were to communicate what you're looking for, the types of customers you want, the types of relationships you want, you know, you can do what no one else does and go there coordinated and work together and get a lot more out of the experience than if you go there by yourself. So, you know, you can use social as a way to understand what people are. You can go on Foursquare and see what places people are checking into. You can go on Facebook. I mean, not everyone's actually going to make the effort to identify where they want to be. But enough people do, they can figure out what's going on. And there are lots of social events. I would recommend finding social events where you can actually hear the person you're talking to and see them.
You can't hear me, right?
Now they can.
Okay. We are going to publish within this week a map of events, same as last year. All of the events, the recommended events taking place in Barcelona, including the Canada breakfast that you're holding it, and lots of other.
I'm a fan of breakfast, because
yes,
typically
Jeff has his own thing, a breakfast all over the world, and Canada are having their breakfast in.
What's nice about breakfast usually is that people can hear people, can see each other, and they could talk to each other, and you know, there's no agenda other than trying to connect, and it's a fairly great way to do networking, much better than. You know, I mean, cocktails are nice, but some people take cocktail drinking a little too seriously for networking. But by breakfast time, hopefully people are over that. So I advocate breakfast networking over anything.
Are Israelis good at networking?
What do you mean by good?
Are they doing good? Do they create good connections with people?
Well, at some level, yes. Not necessarily for business.
Okay, in Barcelona, are the people you see here, are the people you know from Israeli high tech? Can they make how can they make a strong connection with people they haven't met before?
We're in a rush, I suppose. It's very hard. You know, it's really part of it is cultural. It's actually all cultural, and there's some, you know. I can tell you in the States, dealing with the Israeli, it's funny, there are certain people who do marketing communication in Israel and they get exported out to different countries, and the personality changes immediately. I mean, some people that are really nice, very kind, very low-key, you put them on a trade show floor booth in Barcelona or New York City, and like, who the hell are these people? And it's just that it's like the DNA, something changed. And there's an passive aggressiveness that comes out that's actually very disconcerting. And it's people have certain goals and motivations, but the way they interpret their goals is more of a turn off than a turn on in terms of how they execute. And I've seen some people do it very quietly and very nicely, and people who are overly aggressive usually fail because they're not able to achieve any goal. So, this is why I advocate the conference sessions. For example, if you're going to Barcelona without a plan, you're wasting your time. If you're going there, whether it's to launch a product, whether it's to see customers, but understand why you're going. And make an effort for as much time as you're going to spend there, and make an effort 3 days in advance, 5 days in advance, and map it out strategically. Understand where you're going to be. I subscribe to the idea that you can make yourself lucky. What I mean by that is that if you understand where the people may be that you're looking to see, you happen to be near there. I ran the Von conferences for 12 years. I could tell you statistically, even though I charged $2,500 a ticket on average, only 78% of the people who paid for the conference ever came to our lunch. That meant that 22% of the people on the first day were hanging out in meetings off-site or going to lunch with friends. So if I was trying to make myself lucky at my own conference, and I was looking for somebody, I didn't have a budget to go inside, I would hang out near the elevators, near the doors, near the restaurants, 1 or 2 blocks from the convention center, and you never know who you run into. I believe serendipity is something which you can enhance if you put yourself in the right place. So to answer your question, again, depending upon what your goals are, if you're there in marketing communication and you're trying to get your story told, go find the bloggers. Don't wait for the media to come to you. Hang out near where the press are. Don't interrupt people when they're talking, but politely, somehow, casually connect. If you happen to be waiting to do business with Orange or Deutsche Telekom or AT&T or Vodafone and you see somebody, don't go attack, but you could follow them a little bit. No, you do what you need to do, but do it in advance. If you find these people on Twitter, you could have conversations. That's a nice thing. You don't need people's email addresses anymore. Some people actually listen, but you have to be willing to listen also. And understand your default method of communication. For me, it turns out text is really the only thing that's universal. Because if you're used to sending people Facebook messages when you're very busy and you're not sleeping, you're not checking Facebook, and you're probably not checking Twitter either, but understand how you're connecting with these people. And again, understand your social graph, because if you have friends who are hanging out with people you want to find, ask them for help, but it's a collective effort. So the shift in personality is something which just is cultural, but it's amazing to watch. And I've seen it happen for 20 years plus. But I also I know, my Israeli friends are very nice, considerate, and fun to be around. And we know how to take having fun seriously, and we understand when to have fun and when to just do business. But I'm on the inside now. I'm not on the outside. I think on the outside it's a lot harder. But you just have to understand what your goals are before you go there, and don't wait to get to Barcelona to figure out who you want to see. The more planning you can do. I also have a rule of 15 minutes, that if you have a meeting with somebody at a certain time, after 15 minutes, move on. Because they probably got busy, they can't tell you, move on. Because otherwise you end up with 20 meetings to do and you can't get through them because someone threw you off. Well, 15 minutes, that's it, we'll move on. And there's a systematic approach that you can use social media to create a hailing frequency or a channel to find people, and great things happen. There's a reason why there's an economy of scale, that if so many people come into one place, you can do so many meetings at once. I think the record for one of my clients was 156 meetings at Von in 3 days, which is pretty intense. But they brought the entire team, but all they did was spend the entire time in meeting rooms. But they got the money for the value. If you're going there just because you're looking for fun, now, by the way, trade shows are a great place to find jobs. If you happen to be looking for an opportunity and you can afford to get to Barcelona.
We have CEOs who are not looking for jobs, and hopefully not fast exits.
Well, no, but they're looking for, but it's not necessarily a job in terms of being employed. It's trying to understand where the trends are, trying to understand what your competition is doing, and trying to look for partnerships. Everything that is a fundamental building block. Also, people have actually, I've seen startups formed and joint ventures formed on show floors. It's just a matter of who you're connecting with, and it's just, you can either wait for opportunity to happen or you can make the opportunity happen. It's up to you. So it's. But I look at job creation as wealth creation. So it's just a matter of understanding where the opportunities are and just executing on it. But being blindsided because you're in one place, you don't go outside, and you're not and you make assumptions about where things are versus with the reality. That's the hard part. So there's real value for getting outside the door, but just be prepared for what may be outside.
Okay. Speaking of being prepared, before we head to Bon Voyage, I would like to mention that this year in Barcelona, Startup Stadium of Izhar Shai is giving us a stage to post updates 3 times a day to Israel about what's going on in Barcelona. So companies who have some interesting news, just be in touch with Izhar or with me, and we'll make sure everybody here hears it. Another thing is we have 10 PR agencies from all over Europe working with European telecom companies, and they are looking for stories for the upcoming year, and we are going to also maybe create stories or update them about stories either in Barcelona or throughout the year. So let us know so we can spread the word.